Right, it's starting to get to that time of year when it's not too hot or not too cold. Don't need to wear a big jacket, don't need to wear shorts. You could just have it in the middle. Oh, it's the best time of year. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about another DIY synthesizer as part of the DIY synthesizer playlist that I've been putting together for the past 2 to 3 years now. This is another one to tick off the list. It is a synthesizer that I picked up back in September last year whilst I was going to pick up the Boudreau gig machine. It was down in Portsmouth. Let's have a little bit of a recap. Oh, we're going on a little road trip and we're going all the way over to Bournemouth today. Actually, we're stopping off at Portsmouth as well. Anyway, we need to get going because the clock is ticking and I said I was going to be there for 9 in the morning. So I've got to get heading.
We start by exiting Thanet on the A299, which transforms into the M2. This means we can experience a merge onto the brand new bypass that is going onto the A249. And as you can see, it's nice and early, it's completely empty. I love driving at this time because the only things that are on the road are cars like this, which are taking horses to the dog food factory. Lovely jubbly. Anyway, after that, we merge onto the M20. This is a bit closer to London. It gets a bit busier around here and it feels a bit more sketchy driving in an old banger like this. After an hour and a half of the M20, we drag on to the A3, which takes us straight to Portsmouth.
Okay, so the first stop is Portsmouth. We're picking up a MAPLIN 4600. That is the Electronics Today International synthesizer. We actually have one, but it's not complete. So the idea is we're going to get this one, which is complete, and try and sell on the incomplete one that we have. But where's the turn off?
We just keep on driving down the M27 through this tunnel and we find ourselves at the south coast.
We've got the MAPLIN 4600 in the back from a very nice family. Sadly, Nigel, who owned it, passed away. It wasn't clear whether he built it or somebody else. They think somebody else built it and he got it. And it's been in the cupboard ever since the 90s. Right, off to Bournemouth.
The rest of the day turned into quite a slog. It seems like most of the south coast right at the minute is a 50-mile-an-hour blooming roadworks. And yes, it's summer holidays, so holiday goers were hogging the middle lane the whole damn way.
So when I got it out of the car, I couldn't help but turn it on and see what it did. The first thing I did was unplug all of the modules and test the power supply. I recapped it and it did start working. Then I plugged it in to start doing tests on it all, and it turned out that most of it wasn't working. There was a couple of oscillators working and a couple of VCAs, but the rest of it just wasn't doing anything. And this is when I put it on the shelf because I had a couple more pressing projects to do. And then before I knew it, I just didn't come off the shelf. This is when Mitch, Hack Modular, who helps out at the museum, showed an interest in wanting to have a look at this synthesizer. He ended up getting really into it and spending a good 2 weeks fixing the thing and putting up 3 pretty in-depth videos about the inner workings and the repairs he's had to do over on the This Museum's Not Obsolete YouTube channel. If you're interested in the nitty-gritty of the modules in this synthesizer, then definitely go and check those videos out over there. They're linked below. So today we're going to have a look at the quirks and features, and I warn you now, there's a lot more quirks than features. The ETI, Electronics Today 4600 synthesizer project, was first released in October 1973 in the Electronics Today International magazine of Australia. Designed by Trevor Marshall. It says on the front of this, Barry Wilkinson and Trevor Marshall. Apparently, according to Trevor Marshall's website, it says Barry Wilkinson at EI was responsible for the final packaging and kitting coordination. In part 1 of the first Australian Electronics Today International magazine, the first paragraph goes like this. This article is the first of a series that will describe the construction of 2 music synthesizers, the International 3600 and the International 4600. The 3600 is a relatively inexpensive model that is basically designed as a portable limited capability instrument for stage work. It does, however, offer a performance superior to most small synthesizers at present on the market. The larger 4600 is a full-scale unit. It uses the same electronics but has more modules, a programming patch board, and many additional features which make it more suited to studio use. The project spanned over 11 months of magazine articles, and in the end of it, it ended up describing the whole of the machine. The project went overseas. In the British Electronics Today International, it was published as the cover project for January 1974, so 3 months after the original release in Australia. If you look at the dates, you'll notice that this is quite an early DIY synthesizer project of this complexity. In 1973, there was also the Wireless World synthesizer, which we have an example of, called the Titan synthesizer. This one's similar, made of a bunch of modular designs plonked together in a big complex synthesizer box. You had to put this together with stripboard. Also in February 1973, there was the Practical Electronics PE Sound synthesizer, which was a printed circuit board project. We do have one of these at the museum. But of course this one, similar era, just a little bit later. In fact, 1975, the whole project got turned into a booklet that was adapted for Europe by MAPLIN Electronics. Yeah, MAPLIN, I think, licensed it, hence the MAPLIN up here. The MAPLIN ones, of course, being different, having black front panels. The design of this is quite strange, and it is a little bit of a wrestle to actually get musical. But you have to look at this DIY synthesizer knowing it is a 1973, 1974 design, because as the 1970s trundled along, the DIY synthesizer design kept on getting better and better. And this can be seen in the late 70s with the Powertrans synthesizers, the Elector Formants, and then slightly later on, the Digisound 80s included the updated version of this. Yeah, 5 years after the initial release, MAPLIN released an updated version for 1979 called the MAPLIN 5600, and the smaller one, the MAPLIN 3800. This one ironing out a few design issues with the MAPLIN 4600, including vastly improved filters and a much better keyboard control circuit. Anyway, I know there's some people saying to the video, stop talking, get it to make some sound. The first thing you were drawn to is the lovely wooden 1970s lines and the science experiment. Then you'll notice that there are an awful lot of multicolored knobs. Over here we've got oscillators, oscillator 1, 2, 3 and 4, so 4 oscillators in total. They're the things that make the buzzing sound. For instance, have a listen, this is the buzz. Oscillator 1. And strangely enough, we have not one mixer, we've got 2 mixers, 3 mixers, 4 mixers and 5 mixers. This is when you realise that a lot of these knobs are actually not really doing much. I mean, the instances of using all of these mixers is relatively small. It's doable. You've got an envelope generator on the top that has a built-in VCA. This is likely directly inspired by the EMS Synthy, because that's how the envelope generator works in that, and that was 1968, 1969. Then you've got 2 different separate envelope generators. You've got 2 multi-mode filters. You can have them low pass, band pass, high pass. You've got 2 amplifiers that can either be voltage controlled amplifiers or ring modulators. Then going over here, you've got a 5-band equalizer. You've got a spring reverb tank that's in here. In fact, you'll hear it's directly connected to the output. And then over here we've got some external inputs and headphone sockets and things. Then you'll notice this, it's the patch bay. It's how you program the whole thing. So most of it is not internally connected. So you need to make the connections between the outputs of some of these things to the inputs of some of these things via the game of battleships right here. This patch bay and the way the envelope control is directly connected to the voltage controlled amplifier screams Synthy to me. In fact, remember, there is another DIY synthesizer on the DIY synthesizer playlist called the Riggy Synthy, built by Peter Riggs in the 70s as a synthesizer that is inspired by the Synthy. It is at the museum as well, but some of the circuit designs in the Riggy Synthy are from this Synthesizer magazine project itself. And because he built it to a similar time of this coming out, it's actually got exactly the same patch bay from, I assume, MAPLIN. If you look at the outputs, some of you may expect there to be outputs for the oscillators, but if you look carefully, you can't see the outputs for the oscillators. What's going on there? Well, that is one of the interesting design quirks of this synthesizer. You see oscillator 1, which has got the red knobs, well, that is automatically wired into the volume knobs on these 3 mixers. The same with oscillator 2 on the yellow knobs, that's going over here. Oscillator 3, the output is going over to these volume knobs on the mixer. And then oscillator 4 goes over to these volume knobs on these 3 mixers, and then also there's a separate output, so you can select 2 different waveforms from oscillator 4 to be mixed into the separate mixer. It's worth noting mixer 4 and 5 are completely separate. These are not connected to any of this. So for example, if you want to hear oscillator 1, let's turn up, for example, the knob on mixer 1 and then turn up the level on mixer 1, so it goes to then finally wire the output of mixer 1 over directly to the output so we can hear something. So if we push it into here, it goes out of mixer 1 and into the output. There we go. Now we've done that, we can turn the volume up and down with this red knob. We can also turn the volume up and down with this knob down here. We can change the waveform. Square wave. And now we can use the mixer to mix together oscillator 1, 2, 3 and 4. So let's do that. Now we turn down the mixer, let's also put in the output of mixer 2. And for instance, if we have on mixer 2, we'll get those 2, and then the extra mixers are an interesting design choice. There's a lot of them and we're going to struggle to try and fill them up trying to make a patch, but we'll do it by the end of this. So now let's get the output of the joystick. There's a joystick down here. Let's have a closer look at the patch bay. So now we're going to get the output of the joystick, left and right, which is right here. It's going to go into the control input of oscillator 1. So we'll go down and plug it in. Now if we turn up the oscillator again, but the output is directly wired to the equalizer here and the reverb. So we can mess around with the equalizer and also turn up the spring reverb. So we'll do that now. It's not the best spring reverb. It's very short in decay. Now we're going to remove oscillator 4 from the circuit and we're going to turn it up on mixer 2, turn everything down on mixer 2. We're going to get the output of mixer 2 into the control input of oscillator 1 with the hope that it will start modulating and at the same time we can control it with the joystick. I'm not sure whether we can. We can bring in oscillator 1, 2 and 3 into the second mixer to actually modulate that sound again. So we've got the output of mixer 1 going into the output again. We're going to first plug the keyboard to control all of the oscillators. What we do there is we get the keyboard direct output and plug it in. The interesting thing about the keyboard is it has been causing Mitch and I quite a few headaches. The design of the keyboard got improved in the 5600, which makes us think that there was some technical design problems with it. So when Mitch was trying to fix it, the keyboard would only ever work sometimes. And yeah, when he gave it to me, it just wasn't working. There was no reason for it to. I mean, it might have been a dodgy connection. Mitch takes a closer look at the schematic in his videos, but quickly we'll just jump over to the keyboard circuit because there's a couple of funky bits in it. Where is the keyboard? Right here. Obviously, not completely sure of the problem we had, but I'll show you the workaround that I soldered in a jumper cable to solve the problem that we had. Mitch explains the functioning of the keyboard in part 2 of the videos that he's doing, but the crux of it is every single key on the keyboard turns on 2 switches inside the circuit. There's one switch that could be any one of 12 up here that selects which note in the keyboard scale you're going to be playing. They're arranged in a resistor ladder, so the lower in the resistor ladder, the lower the voltage, and the lower the note that will come out of the keyboard. But they also turn on a coarser set of switches over here, which can be 1 in 4, which selects the octave. So you've got the notes and the octave of the keyboard that you're playing. These 2 voltages get added together and then they travel all the way over to this piece of the circuit called the sample and hold circuit. The sample and hold is the analog electronic memory inside of the keyboard. There's another circuit here that also turns on when you push any of the keys down. So when you push it down, this in essence tells this circuit to sample the voltages coming from over here. Well, basically there's these 2 very strange resistors right here, R91 and R92. They're 10 mega ohm and they are acting as pull-up resistors. So when there's no keyboard being pushed and this piece of the circuit isn't turned on, these 2 resistors make sure the sample and hold is closed as opposed to going all random and crazy. They pull up in voltage the inputs of these JFETs right here that in essence closes off the sample and hold and causes the sample and hold to store the resistance from the key that you played. The problem, however, are these resistors are being pulled up by the voltage coming from the keyboard resistor ladder circuit. So what I did is disconnect these resistors legs from that voltage line and via this yellow wire them to positive 5 volts. This means they're acting as the pull-up resistors we think they're supposed to be acting as all the time, because we think when it boots up there's not enough voltage going in here, making a weird feedback loop that's making it all go a little bit gobbledygook. Anyway, now the keyboard works much more reliably. We plug the pin matrices, we need 4 of them, out of the key direct into the control inputs of all 4 of the oscillators. Actually, screw it, let's just do 3. So we've got 3 oscillators. Let's turn it up. Start with the first one. The portamento gets larger as you go up the keyboard. This is down to the scale at which this uses it. It uses it hertz per octave instead of voltage per octave, which means that the gaps between the notes up here are higher than down here. There's a whole other technical talk about that. But right now it's a quirk. The portamento's higher up here than down here. Lovely. Power to the people in love. Let's forget that song ever happened. Now we've got the oscillators doing something reminiscing a sort of more normalish synthesizer, you know, a traditional synth. We're going to now unplug the output. So we're going to unplug the output and we're going to get the output of mixer 1 and plug it into the input of filter 1. And now we're going to plug the output of filter 1 into the output. So that means now the mixer is going through a filter so we can filter the sound. It's being a bit funny. Oh, I'm in the control input of the filter, that's why. These envelopes here have a switch where you can choose it to be triggered by either the keyboard or by something externally via the patch matrix, but we're going to plug the keyboard. So the keyboard, when we hit this, is going to turn this envelope generator on. We're going to get the output of the envelope generator, transient 1, and plug it into the voltage input. Oh, these patch matrices are a pain when you're trying to line them up right. Into the voltage input of the filter. Now, you can see it bounces up. Without it, with it. The filters are one of the weaknesses of this synthesizer. You don't get resonance control and things like that, and it's a very limited kind of weedy filter. So the younger brother of this, the 5600, has a much better filter inside of it. But now if we turn the filter up to max, well, now we turn it up, it's not going to turn off. So that's why we need to unplug the output of it and then get the output of the filter. So we're going from the oscillators into the filter. Now we're going to go from the filter into the input. Now this is what you've got to remember of the voltage controlled amplifier that is behind the envelope of envelope 1. So we go, oh, what am I doing? Output of filter 1 into the input of envelope 1, and then out of the output of envelope 1 into the input, into the output. Now we've got a boom of sound, so we can control the sound happening. So we control the filter with this one and the overall volume with this one. One particularly frustrating thing with this synthesizer is it only has one output. That means you can only get one sound coming out of it at any one point. So you've got all of these various different mixers and they only ever mix down to one output. But luckily the solution is quite simple. Because the output lines of the pin matrix are on the top of the input lines of the pin matrix, all you need to do is get one of the pins, wrap a bit of wire around it, like so. Ready? And then you just pop it in where you want the output. So I'm going to get the output of mixer 5. Just hang it in there, not pushing it the whole way in, just, there we go. The other side of the wire is just wound to the edge of this jack socket, which now means we've got two separate outputs from the synthesizer. One from the normal output, which is a bassy sound, and one from the random wire, which is a high tinny sound. Put them together. '73 over 3 issues from August, September and October. Oh, that's good. One sec. Remember that? That is from the Godwin Band in a Box video. Like, I record the song straight after that, so should be going on. Pop over to the repro head. Get some various speed going up. So here is the song. Oh, bring it down. Well, this is the actual speed I recorded it. It's very slow, I think. Actually, I kind of like the speed now, it's nice. Maybe even slower. Oh, let's plug in the mic. Let's get the mic into input number, what are we on? Let's get input number 6. Screw it, just plug the mic straight in. We don't need anything fancy. Right-ho, I've written a few lyrics. I'm gonna record them slowed down and then speed them up to make them sound like a scared chipmunk in the background. I think that might suit the song. What do I know? Let's have a go. Right, so check. There's a fear in my head, but no one's home to shake it dead. You count to 10, it's gone again. It vaguely reminisces a song, we just need to figure out what speed to play it back at. So let's have a go.
There's a fear in my head, but no one's home to shake it dead. You count to 10, it's gone again.
Bit high. I'm gonna go with.
There's a fear in my head, but no one's home to shake it dead. You count to 10, it's gone again. Cross the wires. Here we go. There's a fear in my head, but no one's home to shake it dead. You count to 10, it's gone again. Cross the wires till they burn up. Can't shut it off, it never stops. You count to 10.
because it's going to the museum, I'm going to put this plastic cover over the matrix, just because the pins are really easy to nick, and if they get pulled out, it's actually quite complicated to make it make sound. So it's better just having it set to an example patch. But if people come for the sole purpose of using this synthesizer, for instance, then of course you'll get your box of pins and be allowed to go to town having a go with it. But this will do for now. Going to be set up, I think, here along with the other 4600, which we're, the Titan, the Practical Electronics, the Formant, the Reggae Synthy, the Digisound 80, the mystery machine that we've got to look at, and the other mystery machine we've got to look at, and even more DIY synthesizers, all of them. Oh, and the Powertran. We've got to figure out where that's going. Anyway, that's it for today. If you want to play on it, come to This Museum's Not Obsolete. It's open every Saturday and Sunday, and also private bookings. Get in contact on the website. If you want to download the song, it's available on Bandcamp, but the slowed down version, the instrumental version, and also the vocal stem is available over on my Patreon, which, needless to say, supports all of these projects and makes it possible to bring a video like this to you pretty much every week. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for the support, and remember, if you like what you see, don't forget to subscribe, and don't be scared to try it.